And welcome. This is Michigan's AutoTalk Podcast, episode number 62. I'm producer Phil Tower. We gave Al Schwinkendorf and John Puick this episode off. We will remind you every episode of Michigan's AutoTalk is all about celebrating the automobile, everything automotive, and we're also about helping and supporting you, car and truck owners across the great state of Michigan, birthplace of everything automotive. We're pleased to welcome in this episode our good friend Jeff Gilbert, CBS Newsradio and WWJ Newsradio 950 auto reporter, automotive analyst, and a guy who gets to drive some really cool vehicles. Jeff, I wanted to start this episode with talking about the supply chain issue. It continues to plague everybody across the country. And is the supply chain issue here in Michigan still as much of an issue as much as we're hearing?
Yeah, it is a significant issue all around the country. So Grand Rapids area is not unique. You'll see the same thing in the Detroit area, the Dallas area, Peoria, Illinois, just about anywhere in the country. It's difficult to find product. And the people at Alex Partners, which is a major auto consulting firm, recently did an update. And there are some things that are somewhat concerning here. One, inventories are off, according to their calculations, by about 2.5 million units overall. That's how much it's going to take. You've got to do 2.5 million units above what you're going to sell to replenish the inventory. So that's a lot. And you know, a lot of the car companies are saying optimistically they think things will get better in the second half of this year. Alex Partners are saying things will get better in the second half of 2024. So they're saying we're in this for the long haul. That second half of 2024 is, in their view, the end date when inventories kind of get back to what normal may be. And again, it's going to be a new normal because car dealers have learned that they can operate with fewer vehicles. Yeah. How many fewer? Well, it's going to have to work itself out.
I want to ask you specifically related to that. We're talking about this when there are a lot of people on Wall Street saying that we are just a few steps away from recession. We have 40-year record high inflation. We have gas prices anywhere from $5 a gallon. In some places here in West Michigan, in some of the rural communities, I've seen gas prices hit $5.79 a gallon. With all of that, I know they're predicting 2 years from now maybe an easing of this supply chain issue. Do they factor recession, inflation, all those other factors into it, Jeff Gilbert?
We have got a really interesting thing going on here. First, by the way, gas prices. Today, I'm test driving a Ford Expedition. I filled that up for only $4.99. I felt like I was getting a bargain, and it came in under $90.
Yes.
So, I'm ready to celebrate. But anyhow, I digress there. We have an interesting situation, and it's an actual good timing situation for car makers that they're going through this inventory situation now as demand is starting to lower. And every analyst I talk to say they don't see demand falling below supply. So if we were in a normal inventory situation, what you would see is car companies and dealers putting a lot of incentives on vehicles, something good for consumers, not necessarily good for the car makers. I mean, remember back in 2008, we saw some crazy deals. Before that, we saw the employee pricing for everything. We saw, 0% interest for forever kinds of deals. The car companies don't need to do that because even though they feel that the market is falling, it's not falling below the rate that they can make vehicles. So, the demand may be falling, but it's not falling below the supply. So for the car companies, that's good news. They don't have to put on incentives. They can still, make a full profit. They can still decide, hey, I would rather make a big pickup truck than a small car, even though maybe with high gas prices, there's more interest in the small car. But I'd rather make the pickup truck because I've got a buyer for that and they're going to pay full freight. Whereas in a typical downturn, you wouldn't have a buyer for that.
Yeah. We're speaking with WWJ Newsradio 950 auto reporter, also for CBS News Radio, auto reporter, auto analyst, Jeff Gilbert. He is with us on Michigan's AutoTalk Podcast. Jeff, I want to switch now to EVs. And what about somebody with gas at this level? A lot of people looking at EVs. Can you get an EV right now? And let's just talk practically. If I said, Jeff, I'm going to go out tomorrow in Grand Rapids, or if that matter, if I can't find one in Grand Rapids, by golly, I'll drive to Lansing or Detroit. Can I buy an EV off a lot today? Or at least what are you hearing about that?
I can't say that you absolutely cannot. I'll just tell you it's going to be difficult, because as soon as you say somebody can't do it, there's going to be somebody who is so persistent they will find the one dealer somewhere in Manitoba who will sell one and drive it across the border for them.
True.
So I would say somebody who's exceptionally persistent may do it, but for the average person, it's going to be difficult. Although I will tell you, probably the easiest EV to get your hands on now, you might have to wait, is the Chevy Bolt, because they have now resumed production at that plant. They had a shutdown for a long time because of a battery recall. While other EV makers have been raising their prices, the Bolt has actually seen its prices lowered a bit. Again, I don't know what supplies are like because the plant is still ramping up to full production to make them. But GM would like to get that out there. That vehicle is, I hate to say an older design, but it is an older EV design. It's the last vehicle GM is going to make before it completely switches to what's called its Ultium platform for all of the new EVs. So it's something that it's a nice vehicle and people can really put their toe in the water. A couple of other nice ones are, of course, the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That's had a long waiting list. And the two Hyundai and Kia EVs are just great. I'm not sure about availability of those. I don't think they're even for sale in this part of the country yet, but they may have gone on sale here, but it'll be tough. So the short answer is, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to find one right now. Give it another year, there'll be more models in the marketplace, and you know how the world is. Give it 3 years and you'll have employee pricing maybe.
Very interesting. And you know, maybe even more of them on the used vehicle market. One other thing that surprised me, Jeff Gilbert, I have seen actually more than my fair share of the Rivian trucks here in West Michigan. And, you know, that was something that was welcomed with a lot of fanfare by those who watch the car industry. I don't know how prevalent they are. I don't even know where you would buy a Rivian in the state of Michigan.
Well, you have to buy it online, and I'm not sure how delivery works. There is a long wait for those vehicles because that's a new model. Rivian has had a lot of trouble ramping up. They bought an old Mitsubishi plant in Illinois, so these are made in America, and they're going to build another plant in Georgia. But for now, I think... when Tesla was ramping up, Elon Musk called it production hell. But it's, you know, making a car isn't easy, and new car makers obviously don't have the relationship with suppliers that legacy car makers have, and then you throw in all of the issues with the supply chain. So it's been very difficult for Rivian to build that many vehicles, but you'll see a few here and there. I'm actually surprised you see that many in West Michigan. I'm wondering, they have a technical center in the Detroit area. You may be seeing some test vehicles. We went on vacation at Glacier National Park, and coming at us on this old dirt road was a Rivian pickup. And I was kind of shocked to see it in the middle of nowhere. But they're meant to go outdoors in, so I'm assuming somebody bought theirs and, you know, went out in the middle of nowhere with it.
Yeah, indeed. As we wrap up our conversation with CBS News Radio auto reporter, also WWJ Newsradio 950 in Detroit when you're in the southeast side of the state, or even if you want to listen online, you can catch Jeff there. You can hear his reports. My question to you is, and I know you have to tease this a bit, you've got some embargoed information. You've just had an up-close look with a much-anticipated, much talked about EV. Is this the one I'm hearing is actually going to be hand built? And I know, you know, certain things you can say and can't say. Okay. That's not the one then.
Yeah, well, I can talk about the vehicle. I just can't give my driving impressions. This is the Cadillac Lyriq, which is Cadillac's first EV. And that's Lyriq, because it's got to have one of those cute, trendy spellings, just like the one you're talking. The one you're talking about that they're going to introduce this summer is a Cadillac Celestiq, and it ends in a Q also.
Of course,
it's going to be fit in above your typical Mercedes, just very high-end, hand-built at the Warren Tech Center. And again, they're supposed to show it sometime in July. The other one, the Cadillac Lyriq, which is Cadillac's first EV, is just starting to get into the marketplace. They're building them right now in Tennessee. A number of reporters and analysts were brought by General Motors to Park City, Utah, to drive the vehicle all over these cool, windy mountain roads. Again, because we come at different times, we agree that nobody will talk about driving impressions until everybody has had a chance to drive it. But I can tell you it's an important vehicle for GM. First one should be delivered probably sometime in July, and GM says it is sold out for this year and next, but they're not saying how many vehicles that means.
You know, I'm struck by this. If you look at a lot of the Teslas, you could classify them as a luxury vehicle. I'm wondering if you have any early impressions or what based on what you just said, the demand is there, but I wonder if that buyer at that level, Jeff Gilbert, is going to have any hesitance about going electric. Probably not with gas at over $5 a gallon.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about Tesla and treading a thin line without giving any kind of driving impressions. It's not a spoiler to say Cadillac is an American luxury brand with a lot of luxury appointments.
Yes.
There are pictures of the interior of this vehicle all over the place, versus Tesla, which takes a high-tech minimalist approach with its interiors, usually a giant touchscreen in the middle and minimal controls around. If you take a look at and again, I'm not giving you any embargoed information here, there's a 33-inch touchscreen in the Cadillac Lyriq that they say can show several billion different shades of colors, and it goes from the left of the driver all the way around. So Cadillac's strategy is to say you can have an EV and you can have luxury too. That's also Mercedes' strategy. It's going to be a Lincoln strategy when they have their EV. So it'll be interesting to see, because Tesla has the cachet of being Tesla. Is somebody on the West Coast going to say, hey, I want a Cadillac? Well, Cadillac for years has had kind of an older appeal. So the hope is that on Cadillac's part, that this will bring in younger buyers, and maybe less of the stigma Cadillac. Cadillac has a stigma with us baby boomers because they were our parents' vehicles.
Yes. Yeah.
For younger Gen Y and Gen X, maybe not so much a stigma.
Yeah, we'll be very curious to see how that goes, and yes, you'll want to look for that. That will be a Car Chronicles feature, fair to say?
It'll be a Car Chronicles, and the embargo lifts on the 28th, so I will have a lot online at our WWJ Newsradio.com website. So it'll actually launch on the website first, and then I do a regular test drive feature on WWJ on Fridays, and it's distributed to CBS for stations to play if and when they want to.
Indeed, and it's heard locally here in Grand Rapids on Wood Radio. Thank you so much, as always. It's always great to catch up with you. We live vicariously through you and your jaunts throughout the state and across the country. And again, I hope you have a great rest of your summer, Jeff Gilbert. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for calling.
That's CBS News Radio and WWJ News Radio 950 auto analyst, auto reporter Jeff Gilbert with us on this episode of Michigan's Auto Talk Podcast, putting episode 62 in the books. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Michigan's Auto Talk. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And most importantly, share this episode with a friend. Tell another car lover about us. We appreciate you helping us grow the Michigan Auto Talk podcast family. Until next time, I'm producer Phil Tower. We'll catch you again real soon here on Michigan's Auto Talk.